Hello everybody, it is me, Pacific, on a Tuesday morning. Got to drive a bus today, and I'm glad. I did a bunch of work in the yard yesterday, and finally getting so many things done that haven't been done in years, like some serious tree trimming that I did on Saturday, and you know, I like to work hard. It feels good, you get something done, and you feel like you've accomplished something. I wanted to stick the boot in on American hot-looking woman, and this time there's a reason for it. I've had enough discourse, dialogue, interaction, email, talking with women most of my life to be able to put all this together in one complete, generalized but factual package. Hot-looking women. Pretty much anywhere in the world, but we're going to focus on America and Australia and Canada and the UK. Hot-looking women, as a general rule, it is rare that you will find high intelligence, high passion, high warmth, high love, and high winsome personality in those kind of girls. I'm increasingly amazed that when I talk to two women that I consider to be good looking, one being Indokita, how men ignore her and men don't find her attractive. And in her own words, she says, Michael Rue, there are people, there are Asians here that are far better looking than me. I've told her bluntly, you are pretty to me. And I've been honest as a man. I said, don't ever believe the lie that a man says, I only have eyes for you. I said, men are going to notice beauty. And if we lie to the girl we're with and we say, you are the only pretty one out there, then why do men struggle with lust? That is a whole nother topic. And that deserves to be unpacked and looked at. A video topic of, I love my woman so much, why do my eyes still notice and lust after beauty? Because you're a man, because women are showing it, because women are being provocative. And the only way we can deal with this problem is to tell ourselves the truth. Let's talk about the truth of hot-looking women. Let's talk about the hot-looking women I work with. They are stuck up. They are conceited. They know they can get any guy they want, so they ignore all of us average, normal, decent men. We're out of the running. The good-looking women have learned a long time ago that their looks are a commodity, such as a stock on Wall Street. They know they can get the highest bidder. Women complain about men being pigs, but it is women who enter the porno industry in the shiploads doing lesbian acts on film, lesbian acts in pictures, disrobing, taking everything off, and doing all manner of silly and crazy and immoral behavior to make big money because I'm a princess and I'm hot looking. Let me say something to the women that's going to make them feel really valued and good about that. You will be held accountable for putting yourself out there as a stumbling block to males. How do I know this? The Bible says it is better for a millstone to be hung around your neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. I can tell you authoritatively that I stumbled when I was a kid, and me and several boys in the neighborhood while in elementary school we're roaming the neighborhood with nothing to do, and one kid says, come on over to our house, and he showed us penthouses, and the first time I saw it, I was appalled. Pictures of women with their legs spread apart, and the first time I saw a picture of a vagina, I was like, that is disgusting. Pictures with their shirts off, but it did something to me. My dad had them. My dad had them where they were accessible. When I told my mother about that years later, her comment was, you weren't supposed to get into those. Oh, okay. So, once again, it was blamed on me for getting into something I shouldn't get into. Never mind the fact you have children, and no matter how horny dad was, maybe he shouldn't have that stuff in the house. Many fathers have introduced their children to porn early on. When I was a kid, when I was down in the bathroom, there was a hardbound olive green book with Secretary Joke cartoons that showed secretaries with their shirts off or their nipples spilling over the top of their shirt, bending over in front of the boss. And this was the kind of stuff that adorned the men's bathroom in Mammoth Lakes. Is it normal for men to notice pretty women? Yes. But when women sell themselves, and this is what shocks me about the whole feminist movement. When I was a kid, a lot of women were very against porn, including feminists. They thought men are so disgusting. And they repudiated it. They hated it. There were campaigns to ban porn. Now, it's a woman's right to show my body, and you can look at the menu, but you can't touch. And they wonder why men are sexually frustrated, and men are horny, and men think about sex all the time when they're showing their hardware. I have found that I have always had more intelligent conversation with a woman that considers herself plain Jane than any good-looking woman on the planet. I am not saying there aren't hot-looking women that aren't intelligent, but they're rare. When a woman has been told over and over how beautiful she is, she learns very quickly. That is your college degree. I know women that have gotten positions in businesses not with college, not with experience, not with education, but because they got a set of bazoombas that's in your face. Go into most businesses in Denver, go into most businesses in any major city, and you will see a woman with a low-cut top at the front desk, virtually every time. Sex appeal sells. It's used to sell pop, it's used to sell cars, it's used for marketing through and through. But what kind of substance do we get out of these hot-looking women? How many of these hot-looking women actually are selfless and care about others? I don't see it. Poetic justice has a way of revealing itself. Unfortunately, we men have to wait a while to see turnabout as fair play, or as some people call it, karma, that when that woman who's played her looks card all her life starts hitting her 40s and her 50s and things sag and wrinkles come and all of a sudden the men aren't looking at them anymore, then what is left? The skin shell of a woman, hollow inside like a chocolate Easter bunny. Bite into it, look at it. When you bite in, there's a whole bunch of air inside. Why do you think all the blonde jokes have been made about how airheaded they are? This wasn't talking about somebody who is blonde per se. It was talking about very good-looking blonde women. I get more depth out of less than perfect-looking women than I do out of hotties. 99.9% of the time. Some of the girls that I've had fun with in my life have not been the hotties, but more the tomboy. Now, I want to define tomboy because in the Philippines, tomboy means lesbian. In the U.S., tomboy means a girl who is feminine and girl and into boys, but she'll wear blue jeans, she'll get in the truck, and she likes to do some boy things. Not be a man, not talk like a man, but just likes to hang with guys. I tend to get along with those kind of girls. In the U.S., the real feminine, prissy girls, they don't want a guy like me. I drive a school bus. I don't have that, suaveness about me. And I'm not even going to try. Pliers, screwdriver, chisel, another screwdriver, and something to be used on good-looking women every time they open their mouth, duct tape. sorry. I look at what I consider very good-looking women, high-caliber looks woman. I find them to be bitchy. I find them to be moody. I find them to be rude. I find them to think that they are superior to everybody around them. They have nothing to offer us men. Even if you were to get the grand kahuna, as most men would call it, and get, laid by her, it is doubtful that you would have an exhilarating sex life with a woman like that. I have found in my own experiences that the women who don't think they're hot looking but are slender and attractive, but not going to adorn the covers of Mademoiselle, Elle, Cosmopolitan, People, or Us, to be very honest with you, they make some of the best passionate love I've ever experienced. There's more depth to people whose focus is not their looks. I'm going to tell you something I've learned about us. Pacific's big selling point in this secular sense is my work ethic. I can work harder than most guys my age. And when I go and do stuff, people are just like, whoa. That's my selling point. Unfortunately, that will not make me as much money as a girl taking off her top for a porno site. And that, to me, is sad. Men like us have it much harder than a good-looking woman. Hands down, every time, true, factual, generalized statement that cannot be disputed. If I was a hot-looking woman, I could go places. I could get visas. I could get travel rights. I could hook up with a rich businessman that would wine and dine me and take me everywhere and put me in his office in a high-paid position just because I'm hot-looking. But they didn't earn it. That's not hard work. It is not hard work to pose and to model for porno. It just isn't. That's easy money. I could take off my clothes if I made money like that. That'd be an easy job to go to. What I wouldn't like is the things they would ask me to do to sell. That's when I'd be like, hold it. As a Christian, you're not supposed to do those things. But let's take it to the church level. Good-looking church girls. Same thing. Daddies in Christian circles really like to dote on their princesses, making them spoiled little narcissistic brats even more. And even dads will say, I don't want you with just any guy. And then they make a shrine out of their daughter and turn them into a little narcissistic princess that, I'm going to find me a godly, perfect man. I don't know if fathers do that to their girls. If I had a daughter, I'd say, yeah, you're good looking, get over yourself. There's a whole world of starving, hurting people out there, and they don't care how good looking you are. Some of them are just struggling to get through life. Do not use your looks as your security. And I've said this before. God is the one who gives us our looks. And why is it that we? Now, there is a difference between not taking care of your body. I don't care what anybody wants to tell me in this day and age of laxity towards obesity. Obesity is not pretty. Big rolls of flesh and flab, and that is gross. If you want to live like that, please don't expect the rest of us to say, wow, I'm attracted to that. But what is sad is small-breasted, flat-chested, slender women are ignored. And I look at people, Indokita, long, beautiful hair, pretty face, and I'm going, what would you rather look at across the breakfast table every day? Somebody's mows in your face? Or would you like to look at her face and eyes and go, what a pretty face to look at? Because I'm going to tell you something, men. After the erection, after the orgasm, you got to live with that crazed woman you're with. Then what? Do you ever notice how pretty women tend to let themselves be scuzzier because they can get away with it. You know, take their long, beautiful hair and pull it up in a messy tie, put streaks of blonde in it, and wear that sweatshirt that they slept in last night to the store in their pajamas. And we men have ignored that. We go, oh, she's hot. Look past that. She didn't shower. She didn't wash her hair. Gross. I was at an airport once in Duluth years ago, and I watched a woman come in her pajamas, and she was hot looking, but she had her pajamas, had her little dog, and all I did was smile at her, and she gave me a horrendous look. And all that did was make me go, well, F you too, lady. Why are good-looking women so stuck up? Why do good-looking women think that they can go out in their pajamas to the store? Because not one man is going to turn around and say to him, hey, lady, you think you could put some clothes on? Going to the store in your pajamas, that's a little tacky. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see some men say, that's gross. Did you shower today, babes? Oh, watch them explode and get mad. I'm going to be honest with you. It angers me. It angers me and bothers me the way they dress, the way they're so stuck up. And those same women still want an average guy like me to notice them. I've done experiments. I remember years ago I lived in Duluth, Minnesota. University of Minnesota, Duluth is home of liberal feminazis as you can get. We'll say one thing for the Finnish, Swedish, and Norwegian cultures. There's a lot of fine-looking white girls in that culture, and they know it. Swedes with long blonde hair, blue eyes. Some of the brunettes, unbelievable. But I found them to be stuck up, and I learned something. I said, you know what? Don't look at these women. Pretend you don't see them. When I ignored them, they said hello. When I said hello and smiled first, they ignored and snubbed me. I don't know why people got to do that. It takes so much energy to play those little dumb games, but they do it. I have found that good-looking women, you're going to not really get a substantial conversation. There's a good-looking woman at work. She dates guy after guy, black man, Mexican man, gets to use their hot little Corvette, drive this, drive that. And all the men look at her and her long black hair and her good-looking body and go, oh, I'd love to have that. And they said, but I see her every day. She doesn't care about anybody. She's stuck up. She's conceited. She's busy social media. All these guys that are interested in her, and there's not 1 ounce of substance. You cannot have a deeply intelligent conversation with her. Cannot. There has to be a balance in us men and what we go for in a woman. I think it's okay to think those women are beautiful, but I'm sorry, I'm going to be crass to my viewers. Really, all that those women have put themselves to be is they're good for a lay, and that's it. And even that is doubtful, because they'll probably lay there in bed and make you worship them, and you're not going to get a lot of reciprocal from them. Pacific, because he's been around the block and done things, right or wrong, I have found some of the Filipinas across the ocean that were beautiful, made really good love. They put their arms around me and touched me and were involved because a man noticed them. And a man looked them in the eye and said, you're beautiful. No, I'm not. My breasts are too small. No, honey. To me, you're beautiful. One of the things I've discovered is that when a woman is loved and accepted, she comes alive. She comes alive in a way you never dream of most of the time. I'm not talking about hooking up with the wrong woman like I did with the Beth in Hong Kong. That was a disaster. I loved and adored her, and it didn't faze her. She was self-centered, she was narcissistic, and she was all about materialism and spending money and demanding money. And I'll tell you what, some of the finest looking women I've seen relationally are a walking disaster. Go look around and look at Hollywood. Who was the one that just recently dumped her husband? Nobody wants to live with these chicks, man. It's all passé. Everybody in Hollywood goes, oh, he got her. Yeah, only temporarily. I've listened to good-looking women in malls talk. I've watched good-looking women walk in public places, and I've heard their conversations, and never once have I heard them say anything of any eternal significance or any lasting importance or value whatsoever. It's flim-flam. It's tchotchkes, and it's bric-a-brac, and their lives are built on bric-a-brac. And yet, watch the evening news. Watch The View. All those women with their legs crossed and the big boobs, and they're going to pontificate on what they feel you need to know. And I've watched The View a couple times and said, this has nothing to do with my bus driving. This has nothing to do with relationships. This has nothing to do with the eternal God. This has nothing to do with anything that's going to matter 5 minutes from now. Nothing. An entire flim-flam industry has been built on hot-looking women. Hot-looking women getting paid the big bucks telling you what they think you ought to know. And it bothers me. It angers me. It angers me when we have such abject poverty on the one hand, and then we have people working hard in America, blue-collar jobs. And those same good-looking women, I'm not going to date somebody who works at Walmart, drives a school bus, or drives a pickup truck and is a contractor. That is where we're at. In Yugoslavia, one viewer tells me women would die for you over here in Pacific because you're slender, you don't drink, you're Christian, and you're hardworking. She goes, I can't believe in America the women aren't after you. I said, it's true. They're not. They are rude. They are mean. They put me down. They mock me. She looked on her dating site. She saw the plethora of fat women, but then she also saw the slender, good-looking women. She goes, oh my gosh. You read the profiles of both of them, both types, high maintenance. Gimme, gimme, gimme. It is my experience and my express observation that highly good-looking women are generally immature, childish, and unable to get deep. Their lives are built on superficial, hollow, and flaky, just like the chocolate Easter bunny. Or better yet, how about the Peeps? Bite in, they taste so good, but there's just no substance that you can sink your teeth into. It's all marshmallow. And those women hate it when a guy like me says that, but it's a dead honest truth. Those women aren't moving the wheels of machinery in this country. They're not building our streets and producing our pickup trucks and building buildings and filling our libraries with good literature classics. They're not doing anything but littering the landscape with, look at me. If there's one thing that should serve as a complete and utter rebuke to hot-looking white women, as a rule, is the porn industry. Those same women that put us down and are so anti-male are the same ones selling their bodies to make a buck, knowing that men are going to masturbate over it, struggle with it, and pine away for a good-looking woman like that. And do they care about our struggle? By no means. What is the answer to all this stuff? I tell men collectively more and more, don't look at them. Don't patronize what they're doing at all. Ignore it. Pretend, even if you do notice them, don't let them know that. If women get that message loud and clear, maybe that will start to have an effect. More good-looking women than I know are really caught up in materialism and vanity. Expensive rides, expensive places to eat. .9% of the good-looking women I know would never live in the room I lived in Shangwan, Causeway Bay, or Central Hong Kong. They wouldn't do it. they wouldn't go for it. I wonder how many hot-looking women would be comfortable sitting at the table in the morning when I get up to fix my breakfast and fix a pot of oatmeal, and I put the pot on a pot holder on the table and eat out of the pot. That would be so beneath them. I wonder how many hot-looking women would feel comfortable riding around in my 19-year-old pickup that's starting to show signs of rust around the back fenders. I wonder how many good-looking women would be able to make it if their plane crashed in the middle of nowhere. Not much. It's interesting, if you take a hot-looking woman out of her environment, and even me, if we were on a flight and me and some hot bimbo were the only ones to survive, I would give her less than a week, and she'd be clinging all over me. My gosh, this place scares me, Pacific. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to go find water, and we're going to find what's edible, and we're going to make a shelter, and you can live under that shelter with me, or I'll make you one, whatever, but we're going to have to work together, toots. Are you in or not? Because if you're not, I'll go to the top of the mountain on the island, and you can fend for yourself. I'm a gentleman. I believe in equality. You don't want my help? I'll let you figure it out. I believe that in time, after she got deprogrammed, she might find the ability to fall in love with me, because then she'd see me as a protector, a provider, and a man who has some working knowledge about how to survive on an island. The problem and the reason good-looking women proliferate, and I talked to a gentleman who comes out here and volunteers his time, a Christian man. He went to Africa to do some mission work last year. We were talking about our culture and about the kids and what they're getting into and how rude people have become in evangelical circles. I told him about the offensive-sounding Planet Shakers Christian rock the other day. And by the way, I've had this discussion with non-believers, and they even look at me and go, what is this Christian rock thing? I mean, really, if I want to go to church and hear a group that sounds like my group, come on, man. He says, when I think of church, I've had non-Christians tell me, when I think of church, I'd rather hear the old hymns and have them telling about God. I don't want to go and hear the kind of stuff I listen to on the radio. That just doesn't make sense. This is coming from unsaved people. You might want to listen to them. When people are throwing tons of money at groups that don't even have, other than the drummer, they don't have talent. The voices aren't all that great. The music sucks. The decibel volume level of the music is atrocious. You can't hear anybody singing. And yet they're making big money. And here's the thing. We've built an entire society on comfortable over here, and because we're comfortable, good-looking women can sit on their velvet pillow and smart off and be stuck up. It's interesting, though, if war were to break out and persecution were to break out, women need to know that if China were to invade us, they're not going to spare the hot-looking bimbos that you see on American television. They're not going to do it. And I know for a fact that if you take these women and take them away from all the choices that they got and all the luxuries they got, they'd have a hard time. But when it comes down to having to survive, if they don't know anything, they're going to want to pimp me for my knowledge. Even though I don't have the right car and don't have it. When you're out there living for survival, it doesn't matter if she had a Jaguar. It doesn't matter if she has good looks. They won't save her butt for the life of her. It's sad what has happened in society that women with good looks don't want a fun-loving guy anymore. Their idea of fun-loving is a guy who drinks and a guy who worships and puts them on a pedestal. And I'm going to say something to us men. It is natural for us to pedestalize our woman. It's natural for us to want to put her up on that thing and just adore her. But we need to be careful about that. Doing that could sink our own ship. Yes, you want to love and honor and respect her and make her feel like she's a queen. But you don't want her thinking she's the queen bee, because then you will reap the repercussions of that, and it won't be pretty. I honestly don't believe that hot-looking women have any value to contribute to American culture whatsoever. They've not produced any literary classics. They have not produced any music that will last for hundreds of years like the classical composers did. They're not building any buildings. They're certainly not raising their little designer children to be quality and heart and passion and real and sincere. And based on their shopping and spending habits, they're living like self-centered, egotistical pigs, while in 90% of the world is suffering in dire poverty, and they don't care. It's all about my hairspray. It's all about getting my hairs plucked at the salon. It's all about Botox. It's all about me. The only way that this would turn around is if disaster hit the U.S. in such ferocity that nobody cares how good looking you are. A lot of the sins that we're all guilty of today is because we're comfortable. We're comfortable. We're not running for our lives. Our houses aren't getting shelled with bullets like in Bosnia, Herzegovina, Croatia. They're not getting torn apart like in Somalia with ethnic cleansing, genocide. But let's talk about Asian women and African women. They're posing nude too. So let's take this globally. Hot-looking women in Hong Kong, Chinese women, they can be jerks. I look at Aussie men that have married hot-looking Chinese women. They are not nice. They are not warm. They are not sweet. And it's all about serving me and spending money on me. And it is sad. I see a lot of very tense relationships where there is no love and warmth. And it's all about utilitarianness. I would rather have a woman that loves me with reckless abandon and looks me in the eye and says, honey, I know you lost your job, but we'll be fine. We'll make it. We'll pull together. I see so many women in American society that want to sit down on their butt, and we're supposed to give them a free ride. I was telling my Filipina friend the other day, it is annoying that we pay for the date, we spend our gas, we do all this. And I said, most women don't reciprocate. They don't. They have nothing to give us, but the man's supposed to put himself out there. And in this day of so-called liberation, equality, and feminism, women need to stand up and say, I tell you what, you pay for your half of the date, I'll pay for my half. I really think we should start forcing that issue. And I don't believe that really wholeheartedly, because if I love a woman, I want to give. But how come women aren't giving to us? Why does the man give? Why does the man got to put himself and his money, his wallet, his gas? Why does he need to do that? The women aren't giving much today, are they? And that's why I challenge my male viewers, take a look at these hot-looking women and ask yourself a question. What are they really contributing to the good of society other than eye candy that you can't have anyway? I don't mean to be rude, but I'm going to pull the gloves off. Classic, Maverick, Pacific. All these women give us is penis Olympics, masturbatory sports. That's it. That's it. Nothing of lasting value. And I'm going to say something. I think the struggle with masturbation is greater today because of the proliferation of pornography and the in-your-face, lackadaisical approach to dressing. When I went to the Potter's house on Saturday, African-American women, white women were dressed provocatively. And then they're jumping with their arms in the air, clean shaven underarms, their breasts nice and enhanced, and I'm going, I think of the verse, present your body as a living sacrifice. And I go, really? In church? These people think that this is pleasing to God? Now, I struggle. When I was in the Philippines, girls wear sleeveless shirts and stuff, but even the Filipinas that I knew that went to Catholic church or to Baptist church, they covered their skin. They would never go into church dressed the way they would in their normal day-to-day. Even in the Philippines. I remember being in a chat room once, and a girl started talking to me. She was very good looking. She said she had more Spanish blood in her than Filipina, and she was very good looking. She asked me what I did. She didn't have a boyfriend, of course. She asked me what I did. I told her, and she goes, oh, is that all? The minute I heard that, I thought, yep, she's getting online to meet some man with money to sweep her out of her poverty. And it made me sick. And I met a lot of women in Filipina chat rooms that were very good looking. They didn't have any interest in me because they knew they could get what they considered their ultimate in a man. And it was more based on the money and the visa than his heart. I'm going to be very honest with my viewers. That 21-year-old punk that's deeply causing damage to my son. And we'll talk about that in another video, so don't come back with all your comments. You need to do this, you need to do that. I am doing something. Just can't tell you yet. Legally, by the way. This guy made a comment to me when that confrontation broke out. He doesn't know much about my life. He said, yeah, you go after all those desperate Asian girls because you can't get a girlfriend in the U.S. And let me tell you, that hurt. And I asked myself, did I really go after a bunch of desperate Asian girls? And I thought, no. I went to videoke, sat down, I noticed somebody was pretty, they noticed me, we danced, I wanted to be in their company, they wanted to be in mine. So this is the American way of dealing with truth. Pacific doesn't have a girlfriend, there must be something wrong with him. And if the girls that are interested in him are overseas, they must be real pieces of garbage. That's the way Americans re-articulate truth. They won't look at themselves and say, actually, Pacific's a good, hardworking, slender, handsome guy in great shape for his age. But American women are so picky, so stuck up, so self-righteous, so caught up in themselves that they think they can get Johnny Depp or Brad Pitt. And I've looked at those guys. I'm like, what is the draw? Not one of those cats has worked as hard as I have physically one entire day of their freaking life. Women don't want men. They want a cream puff in business clothes with a degree. They want a bunch of external veneers, but they don't want raw quarter-sawn oak. For those of you that know antiques, you know what quarter-sawn oak is. Hardwood cut a different way with wild grain. More beautiful than your standard milled oak. Hands down. I consider myself to be quarter-sawn. Different, not mainstream, and some people don't like that. But when we're dealing with hot-looking women, they don't want rough-cut lumber like me. They don't want it. We are in a society that likes veneers, but let me tell you something about veneer. I've worked with furniture. Veneer looks good as long as it never curls or lifts up on the edges. But if you spill a glass of water on that, or put a dehumidifier on that thing, or a humidifier, it will ruin the veneer, exposing the ugly wood underneath. You take these women and you put trial into their life. You put persecution into their life. You strip away their house, their bank account, their money, and their looks, and guess what? Their veneer shows real quick. There's nothing underneath that's of any substance. Nothing. Nothing of quality. Excuse me. How many of you men are familiar with furniture, and women too? Excuse me. I notice a lot of girls today will go to Walmart and buy, hold on. This week, I've had more people tell me their allergies have been flaring up. Not sure why. Mine do in the morning, and then by mid-morning, they're gone. You ever seen the Walmart stuff? Or the bed frames with the headboard behind it with the mirror and the little cubicles and the little arch thing over the top? Women buy that junk. Very heavy to move, but it's particle board with a veneer over it. You bump the corner of it, you chip it, and it breaks a chunk out of it. It's garbage, and that stuff is expensive. Every time I see it, I call it mobile home furniture, mobile home bedroom set. And yet, I find most women are buying that stuff. When I was married, I would go to garage sales and buy old antique pieces of furniture because they were solid. And they had a scratch or even a gouge, and I'd put some Old English or some oil or some sandpaper to it, and it worked it out and just looked great. When we went to move to Minnesota, there's a guy down the street that has a second-hand store. He came and bought most of our stuff. He said young people aren't into this stuff anymore. When their parents die, they cash out the estate. Nobody wants the antiques. They want all that fake faux stuff. I said, isn't that funny? It just, that goes hand in glove with our whole society. Most women today are not after quality anymore. They're after flim-flam. Look at the whole explosion of texting, social media. People don't want quality. They don't want real community. They don't want to know their neighbors. Everything's got to be new and glossy. And back to the whole veneer thing. You take these men, these designer men, they don't know how to turn on a lawnmower. They don't know how to operate a hand broom. But they think they're tough when they get behind their Range Rover and cut everybody off. And I'd like to pull up at a light and said, I'll challenge you to a duo in the yard. We start at 5 o'clock in the morning and we see the first one to give up and quit. And I'll tell you what I need you to do and we'll see if you can hack it, big boy. That's what angers me about looks. That's what angers me about superficial. Is people have puffed themselves up in their own minds and think that they're the new definition of tough. They're not. Let's take good-looking, handsome men. GQ men. Same thing. Same thing. And a lot of them are turning homosexual because they're so in love with their abs and pecs and standing in front of workout room mirrors looking at themselves that they start thinking other guys are sexy. It's despicable. I actually was reading online for men to combat lust. It said, quit looking at your naked body in the mirror. I started thinking, what's that all about? It's a form of narcissism. And it's true. Men who spend a lot of time doing that often start turning gay. That's a fact. I had a friend years ago who came out of the homosexual lifestyle and became a Christian. He would go down to the workout place in one of the hotels in East End, Duluth, and he said, these men are standing there fully naked in front of full-length mirrors and flexing and adoring themselves. And he said, and they're all gay. He said, I found it repulsive. And I said, yeah, that would be a little bothersome. But women do it too. Look at how much time a good-looking woman spends in the bathroom. For what? I know more families of teenage daughters that have been late for church, late for this, because narcissistic princesses in the bathroom feels that she's got to look a certain way. We got 6 billion people in the world that could care less about her, but she's focused on right here. I'm not saying don't take care of yourself, but living overseas, having downsized, having gotten real, and let's deal with the desperate Asians. There's actually some good-looking women in the world that just want to be loved. And America responds to that stuff with the nasty, horrible, untrue statements that they make. And let me make something very crystal clear. I've been around the block long enough that white women hate it when we fall in love with foreign women. They do not like it, Sam I am. Do not like green eggs and ham in a roller coaster car. They hate it. You have to ask yourself why. 1, I've been told by a woman who had an interest in me when she found out that I had chased a woman overseas. She had no interest in me. She said, my dad told me that American men that go after foreign women do that because they're losers and they can't get anybody in the society. And I said, that is not true. I've gotten women in the society. I had 2 former marriages to prove it, and I've had many, many dates with white women. But increasingly, I'm becoming more turned off, more and more, and my eyes are open. And I'm going, I don't even want to be with them. There's no substance. I can have more conversation and email that's of any merit on any level with Indokita than I have with any American female in my physical, present, personal world right here, face to face. When I see stuff like this, I can't help but think, my gosh, I'm feeling more and more comfortable that I might just put that bumper sticker, Eric, on the back of my truck. Just say no to American women. Problem is, I live in this house, and she would get upset. But I'd love to do it. And it may come to a point when I move one day, I may just do it. Sadly, people would scratch up my truck and do something just seeing that posted. We do need to send a message to them. Women that are hot looking, people say, well, they're confident. No, they're arrogant. I can do this better than you. I, the great I. I've seen it over and over. First come the put downs. You're a dork. You're this. You're that. I can spell better. I can write better. Really? But do you have this? And the answer is no. When you build your life on styrofoam, when the heat of adversity comes, styrofoam melts. And the whole structure you think you built just moves into the ground. I know for a fact that when adversity comes and trouble comes, hot-looking women really make drama about it. When something finally hits them, they want to menstruate all the people around them how terrible their life is and have everybody feel sorry for them. And it works. I've seen it in churches. I don't mean to be rude, but highly good-looking teenage girls, the ones that get straight A's and dot their religious I's and cross their religious T's, gets in her car, speeds, gets in a wreck, and is killed. And the church and the Christians go on and on how tragic it is that Laura's life was ended because she was foolish. What about the plain Jane girl that died 3 weeks ago? We don't say anything about it, do we? And she died not because she was speeding. She wasn't. She died because of somebody else's negligence. I'm tired of people grooming their daughters to be princesses. I'm tired, based on what I see on my school bus every day, that it's not just a handful of parents, but that all parents have put their little teenage good-looking girl on a pedestal, and that's why they're rude to me. That's why they can't say hi when spoken to, can't use manners. They're walking garbage cans. Walking dumpsters. They have nothing to give you. They're trash. Yes, I know what you're saying. That's not very Christ-like. It's the truth. God can save their soul and turn them into something, but as they stand now, they have nothing to offer the good of humankind at all. 99.9% of good-looking teenage girls are so selfish, so stuck up, and they have nothing to give anybody. Not even their own parents. And yet, what does our society do about this? Does it tell them the truth they need to hear? Do the dads stand up and say, you know, you're kind of being a bitch. Knock it off. No, they won't. Our society coddles and encourages them because men like the view of even those teenage girls running around scantily clad. It disgusts me when I drive down Federal Boulevard, which is the heart of Mexican neighborhood, and that is a rough neighborhood. Car shops with rims and window tinting and pot shops, and Federal sucks. And I see hot-looking chicas walking around with their push-up bras and walking down a major boulevard where many, many older men and men that are piggy are looking, wow, look at that. And you ask yourself, what chica mother would let her chica daughter go out dressed like a chica whore? It's disgusting. Same with the African-American women. Same with the white girls. Our society just does it over and over and over. I think the funnest thing would be to be a police officer, pull up next to some scantily clad girl, run out of the car, throw a blanket over and say, I'm sorry, where's your clothes? Where's your clothes? Let me put this around you, and watch that girl freak out. Oh my gosh, what is he doing? We don't deal with it. The feminists are hypocrites. The feminists are hypocritical through and through and through. They don't condemn porn. They don't condemn it at all. But they turn around and condemn us men over and over and over. And it's disgusting. You women have created the porn industry, not men. Women created it by willingly submitting to it, all for the money. Women are whores to money as men are whores to women. That is a fact. It is normal for a man to want a woman. Perfectly normal. And yet, in our upside-down world, that has been condemned. But it's not condemned when a woman wants money. I had discourse back and forth with that ding-dong black woman that wanted a man to give her an Audi. And I thought, really? She had the gall to write me back saying she was perfectly justified in that because everybody uses everybody. Oh, really? So let's join the whole fray. Let's jump off the dock into the water because everybody else is jumping off into the dock into the water. It makes me sick. And you think that somebody should buy you an Audi? What are you going to do for him? Pacific is not interested in using a woman. Pacific is interested in trying to have a woman in his life. Not trying. No, forget that. I'm interested in having a woman in my life and trying to build a life. Let's go buy this piece of land. Let's put a travel trailer on there and start building, little by little, a house. Let's do something. But more and more I realize I think that dream is pretty much gone. Women now require men to have it all together, financially, even though the women don't have it all together. And it's disgusting. Let me say this again. Hot-looking women are not quality women. They're not nice. They don't have heart. They have nothing to give you except eye candy. They're good for your insecurity when you're walking through downtown Denver or Lodo on a Friday night with cups of beer in your hand and everybody's going, wow, look at that chick that's with him. How shallow. Bite into some more marshmallow, please. It'll give you cavities. I noticed the good-looking women, but at 48, I'm starting to get tired of them. They're immature. They're useless to me. Completely and utterly useless. You just say that because you can't get them. No. You're right. I know I can't get them. But I'm just unpacking what they have done and what they are and talking truth that they're never going to hear and listen to, but it needs to be said. They have nothing to contribute. They built their little world on their looks. And it would be like me building the Taj Mahal with marshmallow footings holding it up. It isn't going to work. Hot-looking women build themselves a house of cards. And one breeze of adversity, and it goes. I've heard more whining from a good-looking woman who has breast cancer or some little thing hit her life. I'm not saying breast cancer's little. And she's got to let everybody know, poor me! But she didn't pay attention to the average-looking woman who's had struggle upon struggle upon struggle. She doesn't give a damn. Hot-looking women don't drive any better than anybody else either. In fact, they drive bad. I'm good-looking. I don't need to use my turn signal. I don't need to be polite because I am what I am. Good-looking women drive an industry of vanity and superficiality. Go into any Nordstrom's, Macy's, and look at the plethora of cosmetics, overpriced, ridiculous, smelly products. An entire industry generated, and yet I go back to my loser desperate girls in Asia who don't wear the makeup, who don't get caught up in buying all that, who just want a man to love them. I'm sorry. I look at Indokita, who has not one shred of makeup on. When she lets her hair down, she sent me some pictures yesterday. She's beautiful. No lipstick, no eyeliner, no blush. And she's shocked I'm so taken by her. I'm like, I know that if you were here, guys would go crazy for you, but you wouldn't want these guys. Good-looking women remind me. Remember when you used to go to Denny's or Hardee's, Perkins, Sambo's, any of those diner chain restaurants, family dining restaurants, and they had in the case those plastic shellacked desserts, you know, that were fake? That's what a good-looking woman is. Plastic, glossy. Wow, that looks good. Not really. 99% of the conversation I've heard of women of that caliber is flim-flam, fluff, flakeroo, superficial BS. You're not going to get anything. You're not going to bite down and get any substance. Indokita is hotter than any of them. She writes, she thinks, she's passionate. She's very different than what men are just falling all over themselves to get with these hot-looking women. They're not worth it. I will boldly say it. I'd rather have a simple woman like Indokita than any of them, any day, because they have nothing to contribute to a relational success at all. This is Pacific, signing off. Have a great day. Bye-bye.